Hello, I'm Drawlords and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be drawing Project Gwen. Gwen is a new League of Legends champion and I really like the project skin line, so I decided to draw Gwen as if she was in the project skin line. I hope you enjoy. This drawing is going to be much more concepty and I'm not going to be doing a finished drawing, so I'm relying very heavily on the pose to carry the emotions and the action, and pretty much relying on the pose to get this character's emotion across, because I'm not going to have all the details that a finished splash art piece would. I really like the flow of this character, especially with the dress thing and the turned head, and I quite like the angles. It could be more flowy and more natural. It's still a little bit blocky, but overall I do really like this design and this pose, and everything about this I really like, except for when I start adding details. So I start adding a few details just to make it a more solid concept instead of just some lines. I really like these ear bits to sort of imitate the bows that are on the side of Gwen's hair, and this is when I think the entire thing kind of derails, just from the two eyes, the two button eyes that I put on this character. I feel like these two button eyes, even though Gwen is a doll and it kind of worked like that, really made the design look clunky and very not natural. Even though it's a robot, I still wanted it to flow, because most of the skins in Project look really almost organic, even though they're pretty much just tech, and I think that's the hardest thing to get into a design like this. So those eyes, they kind of made it really clunky, and so I was like, oh, maybe I should rejig the pose, maybe that'll make it better. I don't think it does, but I'm like, I'll stick with this. And then I go on to a new day and I'm like, maybe it's the lower legs, maybe I should rejig the lower legs. So instead of having legs, I have this dress, and I like how the dress flows quite a bit. I still like the original under drawing much better, which is kind of annoying, and I think if I just did this helmet to that original first drawing, I would have enjoyed it. I would have liked the finished result much more, which I think I may do in maybe another video, maybe a bonus video midweek or something. I might redraw this character as if they were as if the first layer was how I did the character, because looking back on it now, I really liked the action and the feel of that pose. Anyway, back to this design. It's still not bad. I'm adding in more detail, almost just blocking in a sort of basic anatomy, robot-y sci-fi armor, just trying to get proportions and generic armors right. And because I don't think this pose works anymore, because it's quite clunky and not flowy, I decided to change up the arms. This is because I felt that the scissors being down below her waist, sort of in a battle pose, didn't really work anymore with this more mysterious, sort of magical, techie pose and aesthetic she was evolving into now, with like her dress making her look like she's floating, and her head and arms being, or her one arm being out in the front instead of just down by her side. Kind of made me think this character looked more like a witch, but like using their tech to control stuff, not a fantasy witch. So I just moved the arms up like that to make it look more in tune with this new character. I also decided just to copy and paste one of those sort of armored dress parts into the gap. Felt like that gap didn't really fit, so I just wanted to fill that. All throughout this drawing I was struggling with some like artist block and burnout, but I still tried to carry on, and I think this did turn out well, but the scissors kind of took the brunt of that, as I'd pretty much finished doing the drawing of Gwen, and then I just was doing these scissors, and I was really struggling with getting a bit free again and just drawing something that looked good. So as you can see, there were many iterations of just a poor drawing of scissors of all things. So I just decided to use the line tool to just draw something that could hold up to the rest of the drawing. Spoiler alert, it doesn't, and it kind of looks very bad, but after I spent at least an hour on these scissors, even though there's just a few, I've cut some of the attempts out because there were quite a lot of them. I spent about an hour on these scissors and I was just getting more and more frustrated at myself because I couldn't just draw these scissors, so I just used the line tool and made a rough scissor shape, and it doesn't hold up to the rest of the design, but at least there's something there. And it's kind of a shame because the scissors are basically Gwen's entire character, but I can't do anything now, which is part of the reason why I want to do another drawing of Gwen like this. I'll make sure to make her scissors look pretty cool. So you can see I was just drawing over this sort of template and just trying to make something that looked okay. I move it up and then I go on to, after redrawing over that with a very thick line as well, which kind of made it look cartoony, which wasn't what I was going for. And then I just decide I've had enough of these scissors, so I'm just going to colour them. And this kind of makes them look pretty bad, even worse than they were, and I'm kind of annoyed at myself for doing that. But anyway, I go on to Gwen, who I'm mostly happy with, and I start colouring in her face, and I decided that to get a lot looser, I would, instead of selecting around things, just paint over with the brush tool. So instead of just selecting different areas and doing them one by one, I just not select anything and freely go in, so I could change areas over the entire piece. If I wanted to change, add some shadows to all of it, I could do that without spending loads of time selecting, and I just felt like this was a freer way of working, except for the highlights. For the highlights, I still did just select a very sharp edge because I couldn't really do that with the size of brush I was using, and I felt that I could just get a very, very sharp edge with the selecting that I couldn't with any brush that I was using. I then just carry on with some of the blue parts, some of the grey parts, and the ear sort of sci-fi glowy things. As you can see, it is quite free, especially on the hair. You can see here I could literally just go in and add in all the tones and didn't even need to worry about mixing, because I thought that in the background it looked kind of cool to not have such a detailed, smooth finish like everything else. I could just have a very, very almost messy hair in the background, so that it almost faded away from all the sharp edges of the armour. And then I was just doing some basic little bit of light, little bit of dark on the armour pieces, just so that it didn't lose too much realism. And by this time I was kind of losing traction with this drawing because of all the things I've said before, artist block and not really producing what I wanted to. But I know I decided to stop doing as many shadows and highlights as you go down, so that didn't attract attention from the head and the chest, which were really what I wanted you to look at the most, to focus on. So you can see there will not be any shading on the lower section of Gwen, just because I didn't want you to focus on the lower sections. I wanted you to see the highlights and the shadows in the top and decide to focus on those. As we draw to the end of the video, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be making sure to guaranteed make one video a week, because I did have to drop that. I had it going for the last few weeks, but then I had to drop that because exams and school. But now I'm on a holiday, so I can focus more on this YouTube channel and on you guys. So I hope you look forward to that. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you don't want to miss that, and a possible midweek video for an update on this Gwen drawing. Probably just redoing it because I'm not happy with this. I'm also going to be painting some more minis, making sure that I film it much better than I did before, at one camera angle, and always keeping things in focus. But other than that, I hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next ones. Have a great day.